coming up on Added Time.
Here's Aloisi for a place in the World Cup. He scored! Australia have done it!
And that was the first time in my career that I felt that what sport can do for people.
I was actually crying on air, so I don't remember even what I said.
That's how I was able to block out all the outside noise and the pressure.
We thought it was going to happen. We've been dreaming it for 32 years, and we couldn't ask for a better finish.
20 years. 20 years since the lid went into the stratosphere in Australian football and probably transcended football for a very long way, thanks to you and Schwartzy and a few other of your Socceroos teammates.
Mark Bresciano, the guy.
Oh, don't worry, he's milked it for 20 years.
It was
Deserves
an
it.
incredible night, November 16, 2005. The second leg against Uruguay goes all the way to penalties. Socceroos qualify for the World Cup for the first time in 32 years after the stages since 1974 where they just found new and inventive ways to miss out. Boz, you were in London watching. Johnny, you were there, part of it all. You were losing your mind in a commentary box, and we all love that as well. When someone comes up to you, though, John, and says, it's been 20 years, do you go, oh, really? Or it feels like that?
No, some days it feels like 20 years ago, but then there's other days it feels like yesterday. It feels like, wow, and that 20 years, where did that go? But the joy that I get out of that when people come up to me is they tell me where they were and, you know, whether they were at the stadium or in a pub or overseas and what they felt. And there's been so many good stories, and to be part of something special like that, you know, it's a privilege because there's so many. You talk about the players that night, or you know, that I was involved in the penalty shootout and I was lucky to be there. But there's so many hundreds and thousands of players that have been trying to get to that stage, trying to get to a World Cup. 32 years of heartache, and we went, you know, Iran, and then went Uruguay 4 years. But then you're talking about Scotland, you're talking about Israel, Argentina,
Israel.
Israel. So all these times that we just narrowly missed out. What it meant to those players there as well, and so it was a special night, a great moment for us because since then we've qualified
Everyone.
Everyone. So it's 6 in a row now, and being part of that was special.
And Johnny, I wanted to ask you, I mean, we've been through this so many times with you and heard so many of the same questions, and you must be not sick of it, but like, it's so many the same. I want to ask you something a little bit different, a little bit, you know, from a different angle, different perspective. You're on the bench that night, and as we know, we've all been on the bench, and you know, with your players, sometimes some players are disappointed, sometimes they're not, but we're all great students of the game, and you comment to each other, you make sure you do it quiet so the manager doesn't hear. Was there any parts during that game where, you know, and Fozzie will tell you as well, and I'm sure, Adam, you've had that before in your life, you know when you just know that things are going your way? Was there any time during that you turned around to somebody and said, you know what, no matter what happens tonight, I think we're going to win this, yeah?
There was a few different moments. I think that the 1-0 over there in Uruguay, we felt we had a good opportunity of getting the result in Sydney. Then there was our last time we qualified for a World Cup was in Germany. And it was Germany again. And it just everything seemed to fall into place for us. And we had one of the best coaches in the world in Guus Hiddink that had been there, done that at that stage, players playing at the highest level. But there were moments in the game, and you're right, sitting on the bench, that Chenga Morales, who's a striker I played with at Osasuna, is about 6'6", great in the air. He's missed a sitter in front of goals. I've never seen him miss a header.
So it was one of them that you thought, goal.
And I'm like going, well, this is happening for us tonight. And then Recoba, it shoots from 20, just goes past the
for on goal.
And then you go, there was another one where Recoba got taken off. We go, he's taken Recoba off.
And he was there. He was their version of
genius.
Oh, he was a genius.
What a player.
Inter Milan, he was a Uruguayan legend. And
how much did you focus on him? How did you stop him? Like, tell us about the plan and why Hiddink was able to get you through.
I think that Hiddink, we worked on our game so much the days leading into so we knew every scenario that could happen. So if Uruguay were playing this, so we didn't watch a lot of analysis, we didn't do a lot of analysis. He did all that.
Right.
So we worked on the field. So this is the way it's going to look when we're playing against this system. This is the way it's going to look when we're doing this. And this is how we're going to control the football game.
Right.
And a lot of that time was make sure that Rakova doesn't have a lot of space.
Yep.
So the way that we played, we had 3 defenders at that time, and then he changed it up when Popper came off, and he put Harry.
So half an hour into the game, Tony Popovic gets into a meaty challenge, let's say, and the elbow happened to meet the face of an opponent. Modern day, probably red, and Guus Hiddink apparently, and you might have been on the bench or warming up, turned around straight away and said, get him off. They're going to target him. Harry Kuehl, you can come on.
I don't know if that was... it was planned always to bring Harry on to change the game.
Right.
Yeah. That was a definite.
But not that early.
But not that early. I don't think. Very rarely do you see... Plus, we only could make 3 subs in those days. So very rarely do you see a coach make a sub in the first half like that. But he had that experience of Popper could get sent off. So I need to do it now. I can't wait till half time.
Or wait till you get sent off.
Yeah.
Well, that's right, because he could be sent off. So Guus was very good like that.
Right.
Where Guus was so good, like in training, Guus was on top of you, like you wouldn't believe that he was just... And then even in the qualifiers against the lesser nations, Guus was very intense and screaming at you every second.
Right.
We get to the biggest game, Uruguay, first of all in Montevideo and then back in Sydney, and Guus is calm. Right. So he made us feel calm, and so you knew that every decision he made was with calmness.
Right.
And so that gave us
And considered.
confidence. Yeah, and considered.
Right.
So what he did, we knew that there was thought process behind it. We knew that we used to practice who was going to come on in the game. This was the day before, so I knew that I had a very big chance of coming on because...
Practice, i.e. in training. So now you come on, this is how you're going to play, change the
So
play.
Harry was always going to be our first sub. And then it was someone else, and then there was someone else, or whatever it was. So Skoko came on that game, and I also came on. So they were the 3 subs that we made.
Yeah. But does that mean also a change in emphasis? You mean practice? So, OK, Johnny comes on and we're going to go more direct because this is why...
Yeah. So he always spoke about when we making changes, we can change gears.
Right.
So he didn't like players, especially in the midfield, to try and play a threaded pass because we'd lose possession too easily. That would come towards the last 20 minutes of the game. So he would want us to control possession, is controlling the game. So he necessarily wouldn't go to attack the opposition. It would be keep the ball. Let's keep the ball.
Right.
With Fozzie, obviously there was this is a I wouldn't say tumultuous period of Australian football. So they've just been the NSL, Crawford report, haven't qualified for so long. The game becomes professional in the A-League sense, so that's come in. Got to qualify for a World Cup. Frank Lowy went. Unfortunately, Frank Farina, I can't see it happening with him. Let's go Guus Hiddink. Can you remember the reaction when Guus Hiddink at this time, he's like modern day, verging on Pep status, in terms of notoriety in Europe and how big a name he was, won a European Cup.
Done it with Korea.
Yeah, 2002.
Only a couple of years before.
Was
Champions League winner.
Semi-finals.
No. It was a difficult time because the game was change does not come easily. Certainly not in Australian football anyway. And so, there was what I would say is battles on a whole range of areas. But what happened is, in my view, there was several generations of players who'd been abroad and knew what a high level looked like, and came back to work in a whole group of capacities here and said, this is not good enough. That was administration, that was across a whole range of things, and including coaching, right? And saying, we've been working at this level and we want to see this level here. And that, conflict was inevitable out of that. And Frankie Farina happened to be, he was an absolute legend of the game. In order to qualify for a World Cup and achieve what that group was capable of achieving required a level of coaching that Hiddink could deliver. And, that is the sad truth.
And it wasn't only just the coaching. It was also Guus would step into the room, and not only with us. He had an aura about him, but it would also be with Frank Lowy and the administrators, and going, you want to qualify for World Cup? Yes, we do. We need this. Whereas when Frank Farina will step into a room, he probably would say the same thing, but they didn't listen. So, and the biggest thing and it's very clear, and you probably wrote about this, was the Qantas plane that we
charter jet.
the chartered jet
Back
that we
from
had,
Uruguay.
back from Uruguay. Now we never had that. We never had that with any other national team coach that we had in the past. So we already had an advantage from our preparation going to Argentina for a week, going into Montevideo a day before the game, because we knew it would be disruptive if we went into Montevideo too early. We knew that the fans would keep us up at night, as they do, with fireworks and whatever else. We knew that our training facility would be a disaster. So, but Guus made this happen.
Right.
Guus made the charter flight happen. Guus booked out the business class flights for so Uruguay couldn't fly back business.
Yeah, that's right.
So
they're sitting there literally.
Yeah, so
like that.
Uruguay had to fly economy.
That's right,
And
yeah, that's right.
and so we're 1-0 down in Uruguay. We're already 1-1.
Yeah,
So because
that's
of
right.
those things. So Paulo Montero ended up going down injured after 15 minutes, hamstring injury.
Yeah.
Now, was that the recovery? Was that the flight? Was that all those things that they struggled with?
Which is experience.
Experience on Guus's
And-
part.
Right, and having been at that level.
Yeah.
And so the point that we were making is I was a former player, played with you. We'd messed up only a couple of years before in 97.
Yeah.
01, no. And I believe that you were capable of making the World Cup.
Yeah.
And I had conversations with people in the game where they're saying, look, you shouldn't be stressing for someone like Hiddink to come, And I was saying, even to players, you are capable of making the World Cup, and we need someone in charge for you that is capable of getting you there, right? And we need to set higher standards, and that's what Hiddink was able to do. And Frank Lowy, made the best decision he'd ever made was to appoint him. And what he said in the press conference was, they said, well, why did you make this change? And he said, well, because if I didn't, then you guys would have been questioning me. And it's an important lesson for Australian football because we don't like people to be, we like, criticism of people inside the game, whether it's the administration or coaching or anywhere, is a fundamental part of getting the game to where it is today. Because the administration was criticised by SBS and others. That's why Lowy came in. And so to have the highest standards, you have to have a game that is prepared to impose those standards. And that's not always easy in Australian football.
Still to come on Added Time.
There were players that did not want to take a penalty.
Yeah, conversation for another day.
Yeah,
We're going to be here for another 20 minutes. I've got to go pick my kid up from school.
That spurred the game for the next decade.
I had a dream last night and I've decided that you're not starting.
I was crying. I was actually crying on air.
Yeah.
So I don't remember even what I said.
The penalty shootout, it didn't go to sudden death. How many people volunteered to take penalties?
I didn't know at the time because as soon as Arnie came over and asked the players who wanted to take a penalty, and I just said, yeah, I do. And he said, all right, you'll go number 1. I said, no, I'll go number 5.
So
and
it wasn't pre-organised?
No, it wasn't pre-organised. They had an idea, the coaches, because we practiced penalties the day before.
Yeah.
But as you know, confidence could be low, you could be tired, you could be fatigued, and some players didn't want to take a penalty. And so I walked off. But then after the game, I asked, who actually wanted to take a penalty? And only 5 put up their hand to take a penalty.
Wow.
So if it went into sudden death, there were players that did not want to take a
Harry
penalty.
Kuehl, Tony Vidmar, who took one with his left foot.
Yeah.
No one knew he was left foot on the bench.
Yeah.
Mark Viduka, Lucas Neal, John Aloisi. They're the 5. I just want to ask you, Boz, about the playing, and to Fozzie's point about players, and John, you were playing in Europe at the time. So you got to where you were in your career remarkably because you all came out of the NSL and you went to Europe and it stuck. And I mentioned Viduka, Kuehl, Neal, guys that. It's one thing to think you're ready as a player, Boz, but to have that little tipping point in your career where you get someone in your ear like a Guus Hiddink. How important is that, even if you're playing at a really... Like Harry was playing for Liverpool at the time.
Yeah, of course it is. You want validation. It's the same with a manager, but especially as a player, because as a player, you're a little bit insecure. So you want your own validation that you can, you dream about doing something, but you want to see it for yourself, about yourself in the biggest of games. And also, I think that there'd be very few players, if any, who want the validation, especially of any manager, let alone somebody who's won a European Cup that's now a Champions League, and somebody that's been to the semi-finals of a World Cup. So, of course, there's that involved. And there's also the team aspect. What really struck me looking from the outside, and I speak to so many people about it, Anthony Creer, who was a fitness coach, Johnny, obviously, a lot of people about the whole... I just had the feeling that at that particular time, everybody that was involved, everybody pretty much, maybe one exception, Johnny would know this, they were also very invested in the fact that it had been so long for Australia. It was like historic. It was a historic moment which, if they carpe diem, seize the day, it would go down forever, which it did do. I just got that feeling that everybody was really, really together, no matter what. And consequently, some of the stories I heard, you're talking about little things like that. That is everybody together. That is everybody playing their part, yeah?
Did you feel like you didn't have that? And I hate to bring it up on a 20-year anniversary of a wonderful occasion, 97. There was something not quite ready then? Or that's another conversation.
No, that's
conversation. Yeah, conversation for another day.
Yeah.
We're going to be here for another 20 minutes. I've got to go pick my kid up from school.
Listen to it. Not one of you wants to touch
I will touch on it, but we're going to be here for another 20. I mean it, yeah.
That's a difficult one because in hindsight, you always look at things and you go, that maybe this could have been, or that could have been. But we were good enough to win that game.
Yeah,
we were good enough to win the 2 legs. We were the dominant team. If you go re-watch that game in 97 at the MCG,
we should have scored.
As you like to say, you pillaged them.
It was. And then some idiot come out. So it's a total, jumped on the net.
But it's not only that. It was like in a 5-minute period, they scored 2 goals.
Yeah.
They didn't have any other chances through the whole game.
It's ridiculous.
So
No, it was crazy.
But
it did build into what you guys were able to achieve. Because quite a few of your players were there.
Yeah.
Right. You, Harry, Popper.
Dukes.
Yeah. Many of them
Tony
had lived
McMahon.
that.
Yeah.
I remember saying to some of those names you mentioned afterwards, I could see how obviously hurt they were. I remember saying to them, just remember this, use this pain to take yourself forward. And it wasn't the next one. I remember saying to them, might not be the next one, might be the one after. And they went and did it, yeah?
Absolutely.
But anyway, thanks for popping the balloon about the great anniversary.
We'll get back to it now, but it's all part of the narrative.
About Hiddink as well, because I think I called him the $100 million man because you said that it lifted off the roof, right? And what happened was that spurred the A-League.
Yeah.
Okay, that spurred the game for the next decade, and that was the importance of that actual appointment. And I don't think it was an easy one to make, not in Australian football circles.
Was he personable? Like you say, how he had the moods, he was strict. Isn't there a story?
Depends on what day you get in.
The day before the game in Uruguay with the bottle of wine?
Yeah.
Or something?
Oh, look, he did everything to get the best out of individuals, whether that was treating them poorly.
Right.
He thought with that, like day of the game against Japan. So we used to practice the starting 11 the day before
at the World Cup.
At the World Cup, we practice starting 11, and so you knew you'd be starting, and the first sub, second sub, third sub. We come day of the game, and he called Timmy up to his room and he said, "I had a dream last night, and I've decided that you're not starting," and that was it. But he probably had that gut feeling. I need to get this to Timmy, so this will actually want him to prove me wrong.
Get a response.
And get a response. And it worked. It worked with Timmy. And then with others, it might not work. But he was good enough to read the room pretty quickly to see who he could do things with. Yes. And so he could probably see in Uruguay, when I wasn't starting, that I was a little bit down because as a footballer, you always think you should be starting. Yeah. Now I look back and I go, I probably understand why he wasn't starting me.
Yeah.
But so when we're doing the first lap, he had a ball in his hand at the halfway line and he said, "Johnny, do you think I could hit the crossbar from here?" And I said, "No chance." And he said, "I'll bet you a bottle of wine." This wasn't the day before. We were in Argentina for a period of time. And I said, "Oh, all right," because in Spain we're used to having a glass of wine with your meal. And he hits the ball from the halfway line out of his hands. It bounces a penalty spot, hits the crossbar. Yeah. And he goes, "I expect my bottle of wine at dinner." And
you said it wasn't on the full.
So I went, I better buy him a good bottle of wine. And I brought him to dinner, and he opened it and came around and gave everyone a glass who wanted a glass, and he didn't even have one himself. So that was him being able to manage a group and individuals, and figuring out a way to get the best out of it.
Still to come on Added Time.
And when Swartzy saved that one before, that's when I was just like, this is the moment. The walk from the halfway line to the penalty spot was just do what you did last night and we're going to the World Cup.
I was actually crying on air, so I don't remember even what I said.
We're the tickets for our family, and he said, oh, over there. And he goes, why do you want to know that? And I said, I want to know where I'm going to run to when I score the winning goal.
Still proud of yourself for being able to handle that big long walk with it on the line. You knew it was game, set, match, even though the commentators were asking themselves, we sure. But it was that, because we were asking the same thing at home, Foss. We were asking the same thing at home.
Thank God for that.
But you knew.
I knew. We knew because, look, you obviously keep score when you're there on the halfway line, and you're trying to focus as much as possible. And when Swartzy saved that one before, that's when I was just like, this is the moment. This is the moment. And the walk from the halfway line to the penalty spot, if anyone has done it in a penalty shootout, because we don't often get to do it. Maybe once, twice, maybe if you're a little bit lucky and you're playing at a high level, you might do it about 4 or 5 times in your career. It's not often. So that walk from the halfway line to the penalty spot is the longest walk in football. And so if you're not confident, your legs will feel like jelly walking to that penalty spot, and the goal will actually shrink a little bit.
But give us your thought process. What are you walking up?
So, and Foz, we played together, and you know that after training, I would either practicing my finishing or practicing penalties, and I did that throughout my career. Not every day, but a lot of times that I'd stay behind. So the night before, we all had a penalty each, and then at the end of training, I stayed down with Lucas, Neil, and practiced 5 penalties, all down that end, because for some reason we thought that if we went to a penalty shootout, it would be down that end. Ante Kovic was in goals, our third choice goalkeeper, and I hit every single one in that corner. And Lucas goes to me, why haven't you changed sides? And I said, if we go to a penalty shootout, I'm getting one opportunity. So I had my run-up marked out, was at the 18, right-hand side of the post, and I was just focused on hitting the ball cleanly the whole time. So I hit them all well the night before. So the walk from the halfway line to the penalty spot was just do what you did last night, and we're going to the World Cup. And I just felt like I was gliding to the penalty spot. And so when I put the ball down, I just looked at the ref. Once he blew the whistle, then my focus was just striking the ball, not looking at the keeper. That wasn't my way of taking a penalty. So that's how I was able to block out all the outside noise and the pressure of taking a penalty in that moment.
Ante Kovic save any?
No, he didn't save any.
Even the fifth one.
Probably he was letting them go in.
Yeah, maybe.
No,
Thanks to him.
If I was out, I would have said, Ante, he's going to say, well, can't you save the one?
One thing I've always wanted to ask you, Foz, is in that moment when he's taken off and done the strip show down the eastern touchline, you've yelled out Johnny.
Yeah.
Was that him or your mate Johnny Warren?
I think I yelled Johnny Warren.
Yeah.
I meant to say Johnny Warren told you so, but I couldn't quite get it out. Yeah. I was crying. I was actually crying on air. Yeah. So I don't remember even what I said. Yeah. And it was just one of those moments. In fact, the reason I couldn't count is because I wasn't even at the front. I was up the back of the commentary booth.
Because you couldn't watch.
Because I could just only see, and I couldn't watch. I didn't want to watch you walking up. It was just too much stress. It was the most emotional moment in ever that I had experienced, because I played with all you guys as well. Plus, I knew I was on the line. Yeah. Plus, the SBS had been there a long time, trying. The whole game was riding on that.
Yeah,
on that moment.
Well, it's funny because now when I watch a penalty shootout, I watched the Matildas. I was at the game up in Brisbane when they're against France, and I was nervous, and like you would have been, the anxiety's there because you're wanting it so bad, and you got no control over the situation. Exactly. So when you're in the situation, you have to have all that out. You can't have. You have to have. I'm control of this situation. I know what I'm doing, and just focus on that. And but the saying about me stripping off, that the night before, again, you have to have this certain feel, and I had it for a period of time that I just felt that I could do something special to help Australia get to World Cup. And I remember asking Gary Moretti, who was the team manager at the time, where are the tickets for our family? And he said, oh, over there. And he goes, why do you want to know that? And I said, I want to know where I'm going to run to when I score the winning goal.
Good to have confidence.
But when I actually hit the ball, I didn't see the net move. I saw it going in, and I was like, this is in. And I start to run, and then I don't hear the noise of the crowd because they don't know it's in until the net moves.
You got worried.
Yeah, I was a little bit worried.
look back.
And then the net moved, the crowd erupted, and the taking off the top was spontaneous because growing up, and we're talking about the now the Australian Championship, I used to love watching the old NSL, the team that I supported, Adelaide City, but all the other games. And Sydney Olympic were playing in this amazing semi-final at Parramatta Stadium, and Chris Kalantzis scored. And he took off his top, and Les Murray's commentary was, Kalantzis scores, and the crowd erupts at Parramatta Stadium. And as after that game, I go out in the backyard, and that's my celebration, and that's what I'm doing the whole time. And I think that just came out.
You had that ingrained in your memory, 100%.
Subconsciously, it just like it wasn't something.
I did not plan to take.
I'm sure, brother.
You saw my body. My body wasn't that good.
Incredible, and I've got to mention Mark Schwarzer as well.
Yes.
Yeah, John.
Do we?
But
without his saves, he wouldn't have been in that position. But Johnny told me something the other day, which I think you may have mentioned to me before, but I didn't quite realise until he confirmed it. He was due to be substituted.
And Brett Emerton cramped.
Who was the fittest guy in our team?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, what do you mean? He's like in that Grant Kenny type level for trying effort, yeah?
Another sign.
This is another sign.
That's what I'm saying about another sign.
Yeah.
And Schwarzer had a good penalty record anyway.
Yeah.
You know, he done well for Middlesbrough. I remember him save one against Canada as well, and he saved one against Robbie Fowler, I think, to keep Middlesbrough in the Premier League.
Europe. Saves are unbelievable.
Yeah.
So caught up with Schwarzer not long ago and discussed that, and he was, instead of like talking up his two saves, he was still upset about the one he missed that went underneath him because he picked the right side. I go, we won.
But exactly. The best save he made was the one that was
just
high.
and that was just before my penalty.
That's the high. West City when it goes high, above shoulder level or along the ground is the hardest.
Yeah.
And like Johnny said as well, because Schwarzer is so big, I could imagine for opposition, penalty takers. Them walking up and actually it being short. But like I said, he had great experience
because
before.
you need to hit it right in the corner there.
Yeah.
And hitting it right in the corner also...
carries risk.
Yeah, carries risk. You can miss.
And you got to hit it a bit harder too.
Yeah,
you
that's
know
right.
And as a goalkeeper, that's part of the psychology. You want him to do that, yeah?
What's the one thing you recall from the celebration? Because you, not long after, most of you guys, it was like an international break, so you had to get back and play for your club. A couple of guys called in sick and said, I'll be back a few days later.
That was me, and the owner wasn't too happy that I didn't go back. But we played Athletic Bilbao that weekend. I was thinking, how am I going to play? Like, we've just been celebrating for 3 days. It's impossible.
When did you get back? How many days before the game?
No, I got back after the game.
Straight after.
Yeah,
okay.
so I actually flew back after that night. It's funny because we're all excited, but you're drained. You're really drained. Emotionally, physically, from the travel, from the 2 games, from what it meant to everyone. So we went back to the hotel with our families, had a few drinks. But the next day I flew to Adelaide, and I remember, because again, when you're in this situation, you're wanting to qualify, first of all, because it's the World Cup, for you personally to maybe get an opportunity to play in the World Cup, but you don't realise what it can mean to people. And getting on the plane, a guy stopped me and he said, you made my dying father a very happy man.
Right.
And so I was like, wow, I just didn't expect that. And that was the first time in my career that I felt that what sport can do for people.
Yeah, incredible.
True. Change the country.
Can't top that. John Aloisi, thanks so much for the memories and Boz and Foz. 20 years, huh? We'll come back in 10 years and revisit it 30 years on that.
This has been another Stan Sport production.